Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Azure with Danidu. So today I want to talk about Azure BICEP. Recently I started working on Azure BICEP and seems to be it's pretty fascinating. So I thought of doing a video series on Azure BICEP, all the learnings that I've done and then the experience and how to use this particular feature actually. So Azure BICEP is the new declarative language for Azure. So many of you know of ARM templates. So it's not ARM templates, but it's more advanced and more user-friendly version. So Microsoft team went ahead and developed this particular declarative language to make things easy and to make things very user-friendly, I would say. And there are a lot of features that we can use in preparative functions, modules. We can. There are heaps of features in Azure Bicep. And so I'll explain some of the things when we are actually doing the um, labs and setups. Quickly I want to show you the uh, Microsoft documentation for Azure Bicep. So if you head down to Docs, Azure Resource Manager, Bicep overview, so you'll be able to get more details about Azure Bicep. So feel free to read the documentation and have a look, and you'll be able to install the Bicep tools and how to use it, quick starts, tutorials, and everything. So what I really want to focus is, um, so we have Bicep. You guys can know about Bicep. I mean, get basic knowledge on Bicep. I thought of doing a particular lab. So and I'm gonna start building this lab with you in particular parts, like component by component, and then hopefully we'll be able to complete this particular environment using Bicep. So when we're talking about Bicep, we can deploy Bicep in two different methods. One is through pipeline, the other one is through a resource managed deployment method, like through PowerShell or Azure CLI. What happens is in the backend, when you when you have a Bicep template, when you do a deployment, it will automatically convert to ARM template and it will deploy the ARM template from the backend. So you don't need to do anything. Azure will take care of the conversion and the deployment of that particular ARM template. So today, what I want to do is I want to have this particular lab setup completed, but I'm not going to build everything today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a component and then do that component, and the next series I'm going to move to the next component, and then maybe after 3 to 4 sessions video tutorials we'll be able to complete this lab setup, and you'll be able to have take these practices into your own learnings, and then you can develop your own Bicep templates. That's the end goal. So this is what I'm going to build. I'm going to have a Log Analytics workspace and a keyword, and maybe three or one or maybe a couple of virtual machines. I will have a virtual network, of course, and I'm going to have a storage account with the private endpoint connection. So this particular setup, what I'm going to do is, because this is somewhat a best practice to have Azure Log Analytics workspace and private endpoint connections and everything. So thought of having the best practices and usages also into this particular um, structure. And I'm going to have a resource group, of course, but I thought of let's get into the Bicep deployment, so you'll get to know more. So basically this will be the end state of our environment. Okay, so when you talk about Bicep, so you can have modules, you can have resources, you can have main files, and those are the key main things that I want to highlight. So modules are like you can write modules, and you can call them whenever you need to use them. So you don't need to rewrite the codes. You can have the code as a module, and then you can call the modules in a main file or something. So I'm going to have modules, and I'm going to call in these modules in my main files. So I've separated modules into separated my modules into the based on the components that I'm using. So log analytics module, virtual networks module, key vaults module, and also my services, virtual network, storage accounts, and virtual machines. And for each module, I'm going to have a main file. But for some of the modules, I'm going to call these modules in a single main file. So main file is the one that we actually run the file. So when we run, so we are going to run this particular file, and it's going to call these modules and do the resource deployment itself. I'm going to go in bit high level because I want to keep things keep the video very minimum also. And I'm gonna be writing a blog article also. Please head out to my blog page and then have a read if you need more information on this one. Okay, okay. First things first. So let me go back to the diagram again. So if you see, I have put these things in a particular order. I have log analytics module, virtual networks, and stuff. The reason I put log analytics module is there can be dependencies with log analytics because all the resources that I'm going to deploy like virtual machines, NSGs, everything will be integrated with the log analytics workspace. So we need log analytics workspace present before we go ahead and deploy these things. So because of that, this is the first module that we are going to build, and this is the first module that we are going to write the code also. So let's start with the log analytics module now. So before we proceed, as I told you, my best practice is I have a main project file, project folder, and I have you can have these things in your GitHub repo or your Azure repo, Azure DevOps repo. So I actually have this in Azure DevOps repo. The reason is maybe in my last session, I would be deploying these bicep templates using a CI/CD pipeline. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy these in uh, deploy these from PowerShell. So it'll be easy and it'll be quick for us to learn few things. So that's the reason I chose PowerShell for this one. Okay, so I've inside my project folder, I have created a folder called module, and inside the module folder, I have the components, log analytics, virtual machines. So I'm going to have the module bicep files inside these particular folders. So under log analytics, I'm going to create a new file called log.bicep. So this particular file will have the code for the log analytics. Okay, so how do you start writing the code for a particular component, virtual machine or a workspace? Um, there's a Microsoft documentation that you can read, and I always use this particular page. So you head out to product documentation, Azure, Bicep and ARM templates. So if you go to a Bicep and ARM templates, you'll be able to see the ARM template or Bicep versions. So if you go to JSON, you will see the ARM template, and if you select the Bicep, you'll see the Bicep one. So this would be my um, reference architecture to build a particular module. There may be few modules missing. Like recently, I was doing Azure Frontend. There are a few things missing in terms of Bicep and ARM both. So so what I'm saying is there may be limitations, but 90% of the resources will be available in Bicep, so you should be good to go. Okay, so I head out to operation inside. I choose workspaces, and I'm looking at the required resources, required tags um, for to implement a log analytics workspace. Okay, so when you're writing a code for a particular resource, a module, so you say start with this resource because you're deploying a resource and then a symbolic name and the reference with the reference date um, API version for this particular reference, right? And then all the parameters that we want to put. So let's get on with it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have this one. So slash slash in bicep slash slash is a commit. So parameter section, and then maybe variables and resources. So these are the three categories that I'm gonna go with. So I'm gonna start with the resource. Resource log analytics. So that's my symbolic name. And so because I have the bicep module installed, it will automatically give the bicep module, bicep resource references that is available. So I'm gonna type workspaces. So scroll down, content workspaces. Come on, operational inside workspaces. So this is what we need. So I'm gonna select yes, and it'll autofill everything, and then it's prompt for the API versions. And I'm going to put a space and hit equal, and then I can select for loops, whatever. If so, I'm going to put required resources. It'll give the basic required resources, basic required parameters that we need in this particular resource type. But don't get fooled with this. There may be other required ones um, apart from these ones as well. So first thing is the name. So I'm gonna put log analytics DC cloud, and then the location would be. So I'm gonna do a small change in this one. So there are preferences that we can use. So I'm gonna say resource group. That's a function in available in Bicep, and I'm gonna hit location. So what it's gonna do is, so it's gonna take the location of the resource group that we are gonna deploy this into. So all the so we don't need to do any changes um, inside each and every module. So it will take the resource group location by default. And other than this, if you look at the documentation, we might need properties and some of the features. So because I implemented this previously, I know there are few things that we need. Properties. So and then properties, and then do curly braces. Inside properties, you would need uh, skew, and then skew could have few components in it. Give me a sec. And then under the skew, we will have name. So if you hit this, it's giving all the available values for the SKU name. So it's pre-set up from Bicep module that we install in Visual Studio Code. So because we don't need to change this so much, so I'm gonna hard code this value for now. That's the per GB. 2018 means the default one, 2 GB log analytics per space. And then um, I'm gonna, so that's all this particular SKU required. And then the next one would be retention in days. So for this one, what I'm gonna do is this is the value that we put for the retention. So I'm gonna define a parameter, param, retention in days, and this is gonna be an integer value. So I'm gonna use this one in here, and for now, I'm gonna hard code this value for 7 days maybe. Okay, I'm gonna hit save. Perfect. And then the next one would be some feature values would be required. Features and search. So I'm going to use few values because I'm thinking these ones we don't need to change much. So Looks good. Perfect. So what we have done is we have defined a name. So wait a sec. I'm gonna do this one as well. Name, and I'm gonna put s thing as a string, and I'm gonna pass it to this one. So it'll be a variable, of course. Perfect. This is all we need in terms of the module for the log analytics workspace. Perfect. Now we are done with the basic log analytics module. So let's go back to our row. So we have created this particular module. Now we need to create a main module. So to create the main module, let's go back to the main folder. Because if you can see, I have already created one main log analytics device. It's empty. So in this one, what I'm gonna do is, um, if you may be wondering that we don't have a resource group to deploy. So I thought of creating the resource group inside the main file. So I'm gonna do is inside this one, I'm gonna create my resource group, and then resource group. Perfect. Then required properties. Perfect. And then I'm going to put a name. DC Cloud. Sorry, I'm going to say lab BICEP. Yep, it's fine. Let's fix that thing again later. So the resource group location would be Australia. I'm going to put this as a parameter just to keep things consistent. So if you can see an error, it says scope resource group is not valid for this resource group. Permitted scope is subscription. The reason is, by default, if you create a main bicep file, the bicep scope is the resource group. So if you have experience with ARM templates, you can do the deployments from subscription level, resource group level, and also. So what I'm gonna do is, to fix this one, I'm gonna say my target scope is equal. So if you can see, there are four scope types: management group, resource group, subscription, and tenant. And because we are creating the resource group also, our target scope should be subscription. Subscription, perfect. Look, all my errors went away because the target scope is subscription. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna create another parameter, location string, and I'm gonna pass the parameter like this: Australia East. So this is going to be my resource location for all the resources that I'm going to be deploying. Perfect. So now, what I'm going to do is, now we have a resource group. We have defined the scope. Now we need to call the module that we have created inside this location here. So I'm going to write module. Oops. Sorry, my bad. Module. Log analytics. So it's automatically giving the folder locations. Module, inside module, I need this one. Then hit this and say required properties. So if you do this, it's showing all the required properties that I need to provide. Perfect. And first is the scope. So the scope would be, because it's going to be my resource group, I'm gonna say resource group and my resource group dot name. Look, so this is again that's a function. So I'm saying use this as the scope and the name. So this when you're deploying a module, this particular name is the deployment name. So I'm gonna say deploy log analytics. Perfect. And if you look at this one, so we are hard coding log retention, but still we can pass this value. So if I pass this value from the module level, from the main file level, it will override this default value. So I don't want to do it now. I may do it in future and show it to you guys how it's working. But for now, it's only requesting the parameter. So parameters, I forgot to post this one, and I'm gonna put a section called variables. Perfect. So I'm gonna say var log analytics name equal. I'm gonna say param. I'm gonna define few parameters. I'll the reason is because when reason for defining few parameters is to have unique names across a few things. So I'm gonna say param location short name equals string equals AE, and then param project name string equals lab. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is, so inside variables, I'm gonna make the log analytics name. The reason we should define the like this is to have consistent naming convention. So what I'm gonna do is dollar, sorry, inside this one, dollar, I will have location short name, and then this thing, and then again dollar project name, and then log. So this would be my naming convention. I'm gonna pass this one in this one. Perfect. So now we've done with the required ones. So now we can deploy the codes that we have wrote. Perfect. So we can do two deployment methods. You can use the AC module or you can use the Azure PowerShell. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my AC module and I'm gonna say AC deployment and then sub because the target scope is subscription. So what we're deploying is this main file. Okay, so that's what we're going to deploy. Sub create location. We need to provide the location again, and Australia East, and then template file. So the template file is going to be DC Cloud Project 1 and then this particular main file. So I'm gonna hit deploy. So when you deploy, it's giving me an error saying template file. Yes, I made a mistake. Yep, and I'm gonna hit deploy. So I'm gonna jump into my Azure portal. In the meantime, if I go to Azure portal, I'm gonna go to resource groups, and I'll have this side by side. Okay, so it's running, and I'll refresh this, and it says it created the lab dash bicep, but it threw an error. Let's look at this error, and I'll come back to this. So it created the resource group, and if I go to the deployments, it says log analytics, and it says error. So this is how we um, troubleshoot stuff. So it says bad request. Okay, let's have a look. What's the problem? Okay, so what I now came is I came to the deployments, and I'm gonna check the error. It says bad request, no specific error. So this is common to throw some these kind of errors. So this is not bicep basically. It's the resource deployment. So even if you do it something from GUI, it can throw these kind of errors if you put the wrong details. And if you go to the operation details, it shows all these things, but it's not giving anything valuable for us to go through. So retention days, these are the values that we've given it. So the reason I'm showing you this is you you need to know about each and every component with even you need to know each and every component details also. So the reason it's failing is because of this one. So the retention value cannot be 7 days. So I'm going to head down and I'm going to change the value to um, for now 90 days, and I'm going to do the deployment again, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit refresh, and I'm going to wait the deployment to kickstart again. So right after I changed that, it changed to succeeded. Perfect. So I'm gonna come to the resource group and I'm gonna hit refresh. Perfect. So we have our log analytics workspace created. So for today's session, we have done this particular component and through BICEP, and we've deployed it through ASC PowerShell module. So we completed the first step of the video. So from the next video, we're gonna do virtual networks and the key vault modules, and we're gonna deploy these two components into the same resource group. So in three video series, this would be like 3 to 4 video series. So we'll be done with our environment of this one. So please hit the like button, go subscribe to my channel. If there's anything need to be improved, please uh, put down in the comment section, or if you have any questions, put anything down in the comment section. I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you guys. See you from the next video.